Instagram. So where are you recording it?
It records it onto here, stores it onto Facebook, and then I rip it to Facebook from Facebook.
Okay, and then you can edit it
Yep.
from there. Okay.
So you could do a little intro, outro if you want.
Okay. Perfect. What's up? You got Instagram, you got YouTube, Facebook, and looks like it started. What's up? Flip2Freedom Podcast. We're going to talk about some cool stuff right now. You guys ready for it? Flip2Freedom Podcast. We good?
Go.
All right, we're good. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was just reading Aaron's message on my Instagram. All right, that's what they're doing. And those guys, just make sure, see if they can slam the door a little bit harder and make it a little bit louder. You know, it's like, all right, 5, 5. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip2Freedom Podcast, and what episode are we on?
154.
53 or 54?
54.
I put 55. Okay, so is it 54? I thought it was something like that. All right. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip2Freedom Podcast, and we are on episode number 154. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to classify leads and determine if you go on an appointment or not. This is a big, contentious debate when it comes to classifying motivated seller leads and determining if you go on an appointment or not. Should you qualify if they're motivated or should you not? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of get in detail. I'm going to show you, talk about how we classify leads. Now, here's the deal. If you don't classify leads correctly, it's going to mess up all your key performance indicators, your KPIs, and you're not going to know what to fix. Is it a conversion problem or is it a marketing problem, maybe a direct mail problem? So if you want to learn more, you got to make sure you go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com. I actually wrote a book that I've had people, 129-page book, where people actually tell me that that they spent more, over $1,000 for the same information I give for free. So if you're not familiar with wholesaling, people go, what is wholesaling? How does wholesaling work? Basically, wholesaling is you are targeting 5% of the market. Literally, there's only 5%, right? So 95% of the people are going to sell their house with a realtor. They're going to sell it retail, and 5% of the population is in a distressed state, or they need to sell their property. They want to sell it quick. So what happens is we target that 5%. Now, what we can do is we can get the property under contract. Now, we have a 2-page contract. We get the property under contract, and we can get it under contract. And on that contract is 3 very important things. Number 1 is the purchase price, right? Let's call that purchase price $100,000. Let's say the house is worth $150,000, $160,000. We have a purchase price of $100,000. We have a closing date, which is typically 30 to 45 days out. And then we have what's called an out clause, right? And that gives us an inspection period, a time frame that we can essentially inspect the property. Now, you can get out of a contract during an inspection period, no harm, no foul. So we want to have a long inspection period on our contract with our motivated seller, right? So those are the 3 things we want on our contract. Then what we do is, now that we have a property under contract, now think about it. We get a property under contract. They're not going to check your credit, right? You don't have to have these huge, massive down payments or deposits, right, when you get a property under contract. But getting a property under contract is incredibly important, because now you have what's called equitable interest in the property, right? A seller can only sell the property one time to one person at any given time. So what happens is, now you get, $150,000, $160,000 house under contract for $100,000. That's incredibly important, because now you have equitable interest. Now that you have equitable interest, you have the ability to turn around and then flip that property, or what we call wholesale that property. And what you can do is you can find a cash buyer that will use either cash, or they'll use hard money financing, private money financing. And what they'll do is they'll make an offer on the house. Let's say they make an offer for you have it under contract for 100, have an offer on it for 110. So you got $110,000. So now you have a contract with a seller for 100. You have a contract with a buyer for $110,000. That's huge. Now you bring both the contracts to a title company, and there's 3 ways you can get paid. 1 is assignment, where you sell your contract. 2 is a double escrow, where the buyer brings in and wires in the $110,000, of which $100,000 goes to the seller and $10,000 goes to you. Or the third way is with transactional funding. But the beautiful thing about it, an escrow company, a title company, or an attorney, whatever state you're in, it doesn't matter, they're gonna facilitate all of the paperwork and all of the money. They're gonna have the buyer wire the funds in, they're gonna get the transactional funding, whatever the case may be, they're gonna handle the assignment contract, they're gonna handle all that paperwork. But the beautiful thing is that with this particular case, you get paid 10 grand. So think about it. What if you did that, once a month? That's $120,000 a month. What if you do it $120,000 a year? If you do it once a month, 12 years, 10 times, right? What if you do it 2 times a month, 3 times a month? Or, like I've been in the wholesaling business now for 15 years. I started off as a solopreneur doing everything myself, then started building a team and hired a lead manager, then hired another lead manager, then hired another lead manager, then have a acquisition guy, then have another acquisition guy, have a disposition person, have a person do our books. So now you have a whole entire team that their mission is to do 10, 20, 30 deals on a monthly basis. So that is the exciting thing. You can scale it to whatever, you can do wholesaling all across the country. So what we're gonna talk about specifically in this particular episode, we wanna talk about how to classify the lead, because as a real estate wholesaler, leads are the lifeblood of the business, right? And we're marketing. So when we're marketing, we have leads coming in, and how do we classify them? What do we do with them? How do we book appointments with them? Do we just make offers over the phone? Do we qualify them for motivation? Then we go on an appointment with them. What do we do? And that's a big, like I said, a contentious debate when it comes to wholesaling and what to do. All right, so if you guys are on Facebook, if you guys could please share this with people, it'd great. Probably help us get the word out to other people around the world, which would be awesome. And you guys on Instagram, you guys on YouTube, hit the bell and subscribe, because we have a lot of killer content that we're going to be coming out with. So let's dive in. Let's get into it. And my mission on these podcasts is give you applicable, is that a word? Applicable, there we go, thank you. And see, here's the beautiful thing I'm gonna tell you right now about wholesaling, is you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be smart, right? It's amazing, right? Applicable information that, that you can basically start using ASAP to generate money in your business. All right, so first off, what we're doing is we're marketing. Now, we all have, we might be doing direct mail to a distressed list. We might be doing a direct mail to absentee owners or owner occupants. The bottom line is we're doing either some sort of marketing. Let's call it direct mail. Let's call it pay-per-click advertising, where we advertise on Google or Bing. We do all the above. Or let's say it's called, let's say you do RVM, ringless voicemail. We do that as well, where leads are coming in. Or you do cold calling. We have cold callers turn around and they're generating leads. Or, the bottom line is what happens is you're generating leads are coming into your business. And what we have to do is now we have to figure out, when we're talking to seller, what do we do with these leads? Do we make offers to them? Do we just submit offers to them? Do we book appointments with them? Do we qualify them to determine if there's motivation or not? And see, here's the big problem. And that I have found when it comes not only for yourself or even teaching, when you're actually teaching, but also teaching lead managers as you bring them on in the business. If you're talking to a lead manager and you're trying to get someone to have a conversation with the seller and listen to them intently to determine motivation or ask the right specific questions at the right time, you can have the same seller, you can have 3 or 4 or 5 different people talk to that seller, and they will all have a different conclusion if that seller is motivated or not motivated based upon their individual conversations with that seller. So what happened is that I had a hard time teaching lead managers, right? I'd have a lead manager get on, I remember her name was Denise that worked with me, and she would get on the phone, she goes, oh, they weren't motivated, I'm not booking an appointment, right? And just pretty much kill the lead, dead. And then I turn around, I call the seller back, and I get the information, and you know what? The seller's completely motivated. They just didn't gather the right information or make the right connection over the phone. And what happened is that deal would have got away if I wouldn't have picked up the phone and called the seller. So what we did to first off solve that problem, I'll tell you here in a second, is figured out how to, number one, figure out what type of classification their lead is. Now, understanding this, there's something called what's called key performance indicators, or what's called KPIs, right? KPIs. And when we're analyzing KPIs, what we do every single year is we look at our KPIs. Well, we do it every week, we do it every month, we do it every quarter, and do it every year in our meetings that we do. But we look at our KPIs, and one of the most important KPIs that we look at is what's called leads per contract, leads per contract. And that is a conversion number. How well are we as a company converting leads, viable leads that are coming into our company, into actual contracts? So here's the thing. But the question becomes, is it a viable lead that we're actually converting into a contract? Yes or no? So what happens is if you take all the calls coming in, right, and then you go all the calls that come in, and let's say you get 100 leads that come in, but actually 20 are viable, and out of the 20 are viable, you turn around and you convert maybe 4 contracts or 2 contracts per se. Then what happens is that if you take your number of leads per contract, let's say it's 2, now it's 1 in 50. If you take 100 leads, you get 2 contracts, that's 1 in 50, right? But if you have 20 and they're actually viable leads, now you have a conversion 1 in 10. That's a complete different picture. Here's another example. Let's say you're trying to fix the problem in your company and you're looking at the conversion number, and you're basically taking all the leads that are coming in and you're doing, hey, I got 25 leads and I converted 1 deal. But within those leads, you have ones that are not viable leads. That means you can't convert them. So you have 100 leads that come in, and let's say 20 of them are actually viable. That's not a conversion problem, that is a marketing problem. Maybe you're targeting the wrong list. Maybe your Google AdWords, the location is too far out where you're pulling in, other properties that are on the outskirts that you don't really touch. Maybe they are pulling in, mobile homes that aren't attached to land, or maybe they're pulling in these other weird properties that when you do wholesaling, you get all these weird properties that come across all the time. And the question is, are they a viable lead that you can convert? So all that being said, right, that's when it comes to the KPI and analyzation to try to fix the problem, and the classification to try to fix the problem. Is it a conversion problem or is it a marketing problem? Because when we're sitting here looking at the meeting, and if I look at it and we're converting 1 in 40 leads, oh my gosh, there is a massive conversion problem. But then we really get down to it, out of those 40 leads, guess what? 15, 20, 25, maybe 30 of them are not viable. Then hey, it's not a conversion problem, it's a marketing problem. Okay, so the next thing becomes, right, and which we'll talk about here in a second, is classifying the different leads that come in. So between all your marketing that we have, pay-per-click advertising, direct mail, Google AdWords, all the cold calling, RVM, all the leads are coming in, right? And how you classify them is incredibly important, right? How you classify them. So what you do here is you got to look at. So the first type of lead that comes in, is someone that says, screw off, stop, calling me, stop, RVMing me, stop mailing me, leave me alone. I don't have a property to sell, leave me alone. That's basically, they're telling you to screw off, right? So there's a lead that says screw off. Now, can you convert that lead? Probably not, right? You can probably never convert that lead because they don't want to do anything with you. But do we want to count that in our KPIs when it comes to conversion? Absolutely not. We don't want to. We do not want to count that because it's going to skew our conversion numbers, and we're going to in turn fix the wrong thing. So we call it like basically a screw off lead, or some people call it an FU lead, right? That, get rid of the lead. So that lead is where that lead comes in and says screw off. So let's say you get 100 leads and you get 20 of them that say screw off. Now you got 80 left. Now we have a lead. Now out of that 100, 20 of them say screw off. Now we have 80 left. Now out of those 80, now we have non-viable leads. So the question is, what's a non-viable lead? A lead we essentially can't convert. So for an example, here in Maricopa County, we'll get leads in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's a mobile home that's not attached to land. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's no comps. There's nothing around it. Or we do get a manufactured home that is way the heck out there. That and the seller wants at close to asking price. And it's way the heck out there. Or we get some weird land, type of deal that doesn't really fit our wheelhouse. We get, what else do we do? We get some other leads that come in, maybe that are, too far out. They're like in a different town. Like, so we're in Maricopa County, we might market, but because of the internet and because of direct mail, you never know. We'll get a call from a seller that says, hey, I have a property in Greer, right? Well, where the heck is Greer, right? And I don't have any buyers in Greer, and I don't know what's in Greer, and I don't want to have anything to do with Greer. And Greer's like, how many hours away is Greer?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. I'm not driving 3 or 4 hours to the middle of nowhere in Greer to go get this property under contract. Anyways, so what happens is we have these screw off leads. We have these non-viable leads. So let's say we have now a group of non-viable leads. Can we convert those into deals? Probably not. And we don't want to count that within our conversion numbers. So now we have screw-off leads, now we have non-viable. So out of 100, let's say now we have, boom, half the leads, 50 are left. Out of those 50, we're going to have viable leads, and we're going to have not yet contacted leads. So out of the viable leads, those are the leads that are a seller wants to sell, they have a property, it's within, the city limits of where we can actually do a deal. There's comparable sales that we can find. It's a viable transaction, and then a viable lead that we can turn into a transaction. And then, right, there is the ones that are not yet contacted. So now we have the not yet contacted ones where seller calls in, it was maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe it was on a Sunday afternoon, maybe all of our lead managers are on the phone, it went to voicemail, and that call, we missed the call or it's abandoned, and we don't have that, we have not made contact. So we don't know if it's a viable lead, we don't know if it's a non-viable lead, we don't know if it's an FU screw-off lead, we don't know what it is right now, it's just considered a not yet contact. So let's say out of the 50 left, we have basically 25 that are viable, and the other 25 that we haven't gotten contact yet. So those are the four ways. So in our Podio, in the way we manage, we have a button that says viable lead, and we have a button that says non-viable lead. So we're pulling all of our leads and we're pulling our data. We'll go viable, non-viable. We pull here's all the non-viable leads, and here's all the viable leads that came in. Now, my main concern is our conversion on the viable leads. What are we converting on those viable leads? Are we converting those leads or not? And what's our conversion rate? 1 in 10, 1 in 15, 1 in 20. Now that being said, so after we understand how we're going to classify a lead within our database, the other side of the coin is marketing, right? So we have conversion is a KPI of a viable lead. So now we're breaking up all our leads into 4 quadrants, and we have the viable, we have non-viable, we have the screw-off lead, and we have not yet contacted. And out of those, right, I want to know, and guess what? What happens is some of the not yet contacted are eventually going to become viable, and then also they're going to become non-viable as well. So we're basically constantly, we're pulling those weekly and analyzing, converting those viable leads. This is important. Now, guys, I can tell you this might be too sophisticated or might be too much. And you're going, hey, I'm just sending out mailman. I just want to get leads. I just want to get deals. I just want to crank it out. But as you're scaling your business and you're trying to tweak your KPIs to generate more revenue, and you want to see the efficiency of your ability to close or your sales team's ability to close, understanding the leads to conversion is incredibly important, and understanding what exactly that lead is incredibly important, and classifying it correctly within your organization. Now, here's the question. After a lead comes in and now you determine it's viable, what do you do with it, right? What do you do with the lead? Do you essentially make an offer over the phone? Do you do a soft pass? What do you do with that? What do you do with that lead? What is the most efficient, most effective manner to do that lead? So, I run boardroom masterminds, talk to tons of different other real estate wholesalers that do millions of dollars down, whatever. And it's a debate, because a lot of people are like, hey, I just want to make an offer on the phone. I don't want to drive out there. I just want to make an offer on the phone, right? Now, and I don't believe that. I believe I want to get in front of the seller because I know I'm the difference maker, right? Over the phone, you can't really build rapport. Over the phone, you can't connect them and meet and get right in their head. Over the phone, it's very difficult to determine personality type. Over the phone, you can't walk the house, for crying out loud. Over the phone, there's a seriousness when you're walking and talking to a seller and you're building a rapport, a subliminal rapport to the seller. So the bottom line is that we have to be 100% focused. What we do in our company is every single viable lead that comes in, our mission is to book an appointment. We want to book an appointment with that seller at all cost, right? Now, a seller's going to go, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want you to give me a number over the phone. We're still going to book an appointment, right? We're going to do it at all costs to book an appointment, but if they don't want to meet in person, then we're going to have to book a phone appointment. You still book an appointment, you book a phone appointment, gather all the information, and then ask significant information about the property so you have the ability to build rapport over the phone instead of just throwing them out a number. Some of the best sellers, the most motivated sellers, the ones that you can get smoking deals on, they don't want to meet, right? They're afraid to meet. They don't want you to see the house. They just want you to get a number out there. So you have to, you basically have to work with them to gather as much information about the property, get a high enough number, subject to interior inspection. All right. So here's the deal: is that our mission, right? Our mission on every single seller call that comes in is to determine, are they a screw-off lead, a FU lead, are they a non-viable lead, are they a viable lead, and are they, obviously they're not yet contact. So if they're a viable lead, we want to book an appointment with every single viable lead. And here's why. Because it's almost, I love playing Texas Hold'em poker. It's fun, it's a blast, it's challenging because it's a lot like this business. You're not really playing the cards, you're playing the person. And in this business, in wholesaling houses, flipping houses, right? We're playing the person. We're really not playing the game of real estate, right? We're playing the person so we're basically, that's what we're doing. We're playing the person. So in poker, right? In poker, someone comes in and they have a 7-3 or a 7-2, whatever, offsuited, terrible hand. And they come in and they bet aggressive right out of the the gate, right? So you can test their strength by either calling or re-raising on top of them, and it's going to blow them out. Say if you have an ace king, blow them out of that particular hand. The bottom line is that you can play the person on that. Now, a seller, typically what happens in a scenario when they're calling and they're going to sell their house is almost exactly like you or like me when we're going to go sell a car, right? Let's say you have your car, you put it up on Craigslist, you're going to turn around and sell it, and obviously your mission is to get the highest price possible. So the first person calls off your Craigslist ad, and you go, oh my gosh, the car leaks oil, it's just terrible, the thing's been a lemon, and I just got to get rid of this car, it's just driving me crazy, I just want to dump it and get rid of this car. Now, is that what you are going to say? Probably not, right? You're probably not going to say that. You're selling the car, you want to sell it for the highest price possible, don't you? So what's going to happen now is they're going to call in and say, hey, this car has been amazing. I absolutely love it. I don't want to sell it, but I've got to move or do something, whatever. And I got a downside or do something else or whatever. But it's a great car. I know once you see it, you're absolutely going to love it. I've had no problems with it. It's awesome, right? That's what you're going to say about the car, because you don't want to lead on that you're distressed in the car, to solicit a low offer. Sellers do the same thing even if they are in distress. They're going to hold their cards close to their chest. They're not going to reveal that they have a 7-2 offsuit. They're not going to do it. Just like a poker player, just like you selling a car. They're going to hold their cards close to the chest, and they're going to say, listen, you know what? I don't need to sell. I'm just kind of curious to see what you guys would offer, I just want to try to get the highest price possible, and I got your postcard in the mail, and I just thought I'd give you a call to see what we could offer. Right? That's what they say. And if you go, hey, that lead's not motivated, right? What we do is say, great, tell me about the property. And then what you do is gather information, get a little bit more, build a rapport, book an appointment. I just went on an appointment the other day with a guy. Here's the deal. Said the same thing. He goes, I got a couple different houses, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, dude, your house is in foreclosure, bro. He goes, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a foreclosure. I can reinstate it anytime if I want to. I just want to get rid of it. I just want to, just try to get the highest price offer and just move on with this thing. And, I've met my 4 other investors and I'm getting some pretty good prices on this thing. Okay, whatever, dude. But you're playing the person. Now, I connected with that guy. I built rapport with that guy, and he's not going anywhere else, right? Although he wasn't the decision maker, his wife was the decision maker. So that's the other thing. Make sure you're going to play with a decision maker. All right, so goal is to book an appointment. Your absolute mission on the call with the seller is book an appointment, okay? Because they are holding their cards close to your chest. Everything changes when you get in the house, you meet the seller, you build rapport, you walk around, you figure out the problem, you identify a potential solution, and you make a logical offer to the seller. Pretty much everything changes. I went on an appointment a couple weeks ago, and the seller said she was called by 4 different people that offered her pretty high prices, over $200,000 for the property, right? Over $200,000. So 4 different people called on the phone, offered over $400,000 over $200,000 for the property, and they didn't get the contract because you know what she said? She said, if they're not going to come out with their property, they're definitely not serious. I'm not going to sign a contract with someone not serious. Quote. That's what she said. So you know what I did? I went out there. I met with her. I walked the property. I built a rapport with her. I figured out her situation. I figured out the whole thing. And guess what I got the contract under for? $145,000. $145,000. She turned down written offers from guys that were just over the phone for $200,000, right? Because I went out there, I built rapport, I met with her, I walked the property, I understood the situation, I solved the problem, I talked their language, I got the property under contract, right? So the bottom line is that meeting a seller in person, in my opinion, my humble opinion of doing this for 15 years, you gotta meet the seller and you gotta meet. Now, what happens if they're out of state and you can't meet with them physically? then you still book the appointment, right? Because now you're booking an appointment with them, a phone appointment, and say, listen, he's gonna go drive the neighborhood. He's gonna drive by the house, and he's gonna call you when he's driving by the house, right? And this is the lead manager booking for an outside sales guy. He's gonna call, and then boom, our guy calls on time, right? So schedule an appointment, calls on time, shows up on time, right? Boom. Then what's gonna happen is he's gonna talk to him about the property and build rapport with that seller over the phone to gather enough information and then schedule another call. What happens is when you're dealing over the phone, you want to create some time negotiating. That means they call in, you book an appointment, you call them, you talk about the property, you drive the neighborhood, you look at some comps, then you call them back, then you talk a little bit more about the property, figure out their situation. Each touch, you're building a deeper level of rapport, and you're also building a trust factor because you did what you said you were going to do. Meaning you said you're gonna call in at a certain time, and you did call at a certain time, okay? So book the appointment at all costs, do whatever you can do, unless they're an absentee owner. If they're an absentee owner, book the appointment anyways, but book it where you're gonna call them at a specific time, go by the property, talk to them as you're in front of the property, and you can discuss stuff, okay? Now, I wanna talk about, real quick, after you've qualified the lead as the 4 types of qualifications. So all the leads come in, you got 100 leads, how do you qualify them to determine your KPIs or key performance indicators? You got a few leads, you got viable leads, you got non-viable leads, you got contracts. But now let's say you got all the viable leads and you're actually gonna schedule an appointment, right? And let's say today is Tuesday and you've got Friday, and let's say you're booked up for the whole week. Well, there is speed in this business, meaning a seller calls, a seller's motivated, and they want to sell, you got to be on it just like that. There is no time to go, I don't know, well, I can book you next week if you want. No. If they're motivated and they're going to sell, you want to be on it now, as fast as humanly possible. So what do? Right? So what do? And guys, you understand is this, running a sales team, running a team of people and doing all this stuff is that these are all problems that we have solved in our organization to solve problems. Because here was the problem. The problem is that our whole schedule is booked out for the week, right? We have the whole schedule booked out for the week. Then we get a super hot lead that calls in on Tuesday, but Wednesday's booked, Thursday's booked, Friday's booked, Saturday's booked, and it's booked up. But we got a super hot lead that calls in on Tuesday, and now we're telling that lead, okay, we can't book you to the following Monday afternoon. That's the problem with that, man. You got a super hot lead, bam, you got to get on it immediately. So what we do to solve that problem is we created a probability scale. So the probability scales, we have high, medium, and low probability, and that is strictly for scheduling purposes when we're scheduling appointments. So if our calendar is completely booked up for the week and we get a high probability that calls in on Tuesday and they want to book an appointment, we will push a medium probability and a low probability out further in the week and move that high probability to the first available slot so we can have the ability to get that call. We'll move it right up to the front of the line because they're considered high probability. So what is high probability, mid probability, and low probability? Well, high probability is they need to sell. There's an impending event, a foreclosure. There's a property's vacant and the vagrants live in there and they gotta sell. They need to sell the property, need to sell. High probability, need to sell. Medium probability, they want to sell. They want to sell, right? They want to sell. Low probability is they're just curious. So what we'll do is based upon the medium, high, and low probability, that is how we book our schedule up and we move all the high probabilities to the front of the line in the schedule, and we'll reschedule first off the lows and then we'll reschedule the medium probabilities. Now, when it comes to this wholesaling business, people ask me all the time, what does it take, right? Does it take? Now, I believe that there's 2 sides of the coin, right? There's 2 sides to the coin, right? There's heads, which is the mental side, which is you. You personally, what you bring to the table, your ability, your skills, your attitude, yourself. And then the other side, the tails side of the business, is the technical stuff we're talking about right here. Now I'm really technical. I get really in the weeds technically on operational stuff, but I also realize that the other side of the coin is the mental side of the coin. So what I like to do is, get inspirational either videos or things to kind of express, what it takes to be successful. So I've got this right here, and I want you guys to listen to it if you can.
But there's an argument between your heart and your mind. Follow your heart. The things that the heart can understand and feel that the mind cannot relate to. There are things that you feel, that you know in your heart of hearts, that's not logical, it's not practical, it's not realistic, but there's something in you that says, I can do this. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. People that are hungry are uncommon people. Are hungry, have a vision of themselves when they leave here, leaving a legacy and not liabilities.
How do you get to that next level? You must learn to dominate. You cannot compete. Domination, not competition. Anybody can do this, folks. Anybody can do this. This is not about a college degree. This is about massive amounts of action. Whatever you think you're worth, if you're not sure of your own value, your own goals, and what you want, the world will never reward you of what you want, your value, and your goals. People that are...
So I love those inspirational sayings there, and he said a couple different things. Number one, of what it takes in this business, and I can tell you, I've been doing this for 15 years, right? Since roughly May of 2003. So 2003, 2018, that's a long time doing wholesaling houses, and I can tell you, it has not been an easy path over the last 15 years at all. It's probably been the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's the most trying thing and the scariest thing that I've ever done, because you think about it, you're not like, I've been doing it full time since 2003. So there's not a guaranteed paycheck that's going to be there every 2 weeks. Not. You either do it or you don't. You either make it or you don't. And guess what? You either get a deal and you negotiate with a seller and you get the property under contract and you sell that property, or you don't. Right? And what happens is that, in this business, it takes, you have to, rise above and face that fear, because there is fear. We will have fear. And step into that fear, because you know what? Amazing things happen on the other side of fear. Amazing things. And see, here's the thing is, everybody here listening right now has the ability to make this work. The problem is we go through in our mind all the things that could go wrong. I do it too, right? One of my big things that I've grown up my whole life is self-doubt. Right? I don't know if I can do it. I have more junk going on in my brain of why I don't think I can do it, or what might go wrong, or what if I screw up, or what if I look stupid, or what if I can't make it, or what if it doesn't come through, or what if I suck, and that is, two issues. Number one is not taking massive action, and number two is not having faith in God, right? The bottom line is, if you have 100% faith and you have 100% trust, then you can't have worry and you can't have fear. Well, I didn't have 100% faith. I didn't have 100% trust, and that's something I have to work on. And I'm literally working on it every day. But guess what solves most problems? Massive action. If you have too much time to pause and too much time, now excluding a morning ritual where you can actually focus and you can get connected, but other than that, if there's too much idle time in life and whatever, then you start thinking about everything that sucked, everything go wrong, and everything, you start projecting all this fear into the future. Fear is basically taking something in the future, manufacturing it in your imagination, and bringing it into the present and being stressed out. And it's probably not going to ever happen, right? But the bottom line is we do it. I do it. But what solves that is massive action. Guess what? If you just don't think about it and you just do it and you just make it happen, if you just get your letters out and you want it, you're afraid to pick up the phone call to call the seller, pick up the phone and call the seller. You want to book an appointment, book the appointment. Then you're, holy cow, afraid. What if I screw up? What if I say something wrong? What if I mess up? What if I offer too high? What if I can't answer a question? What if I look stupid? Who cares? Just go. Just get in the car, take a deep breath, say a prayer, walk up to the house, knock on the door, meet the seller, and just see what happens. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed of what actually, when you just step into it, things start to unfold in your way. And it's amazing. So, thank you for listening today. I greatly appreciate it. For you guys on iTunes, if you could do me a favor, if you love this podcast, go rate it. I greatly appreciate it if you could give us a great rating on it for the podcast. Guys on Facebook watching, if you could share and like and share this, I greatly appreciate it. Try to help us get that out. And guys on YouTube, definitely subscribe. We got more live stuff coming out to you guys. Instagram, always love Instagram, and appreciate you guys being here. So I want to thank you very much. Make sure you stay tuned next week for episode 155, where we're going to cover some more killer stuff. So thank you guys so much. Take care.